If you were to ask me which Pokemon games are the hardest to complete a National Living Dex in outside of Generation 3, I definitely place Generation 4 in my top 3. Generation 4 has it all. Legendary Pokemon that are locked behind unreleased event items, mythical Pokemon tied to a now unavailable WiiWare spin-off title, a one-time use event egg from a Pokemon game, and even a legendary Pokemon that requires you to catch 3 legendaries from the previous generation before you can even encounter it. Completing Generations 4 National Pokedex is truly a daunting task. Hello everyone, my name is King Zorak, and I invite you to join me as I take on the ultimate Generation 4 Catch 'em All challenge. The rules are pretty straightforward. I must play through and catch every Pokemon available in the Generation 3 and 4 games, plus the spin-off titles, and then I have to trade them all over to Pokemon Platinum to build the Living Dex. With the rules out of the way, we begin our challenge by introducing our 3 trainers who will help us catch Pokemon in the Center region. King Z, who started the game with a Turtwig, Dawn, who began with a Piplup, and Lucas, who chose a Chimchar. For now, we will follow King Z and periodically check in with Dawn and Lucas to see what they've been up to on their journeys. After King Z received his starter, he made his way to Sanjam Town to visit Professor Rowan, who gave him his Pokedex. With it in hand, he proceeded through Route 202, where he caught a Shinx, a Bidoof, a Krookodile, and 2 Starlies. King Z then arrived in Jubilife City, where he obtained the Poketch. He then headed west into the Route Gate and received the Old Rod, which allowed him to fish and catch a Magikarp on Route 218. Continuing his journey, King Z traveled north to Jubilife City onto Route 204, where he caught a Bidoo and a Wurmple. He then ventured further north into the Ravage Path, where he caught a Zubat and a Psyduck. With all the Pokemon caught in the Ravage Path, King Z headed east of Jubilife City towards Orberg City. While passing through Route 203, he defeated Barry and caught an Aber. Further east in the Orberg Gate, King Z caught a Geodude. Upon arriving in Orberg City, he went north onto Route 207, where he caught a Ponyta and a Machop. Finally, King Z passed through the Orberg Mine, where he caught an Onix. While King Z is challenging Rourke, Dawn had just entered the Valley Windworks, where she caught a Pachirisu, Buizel, Shellos, and 2 Drifloons. After defeating Team Galactic's Commander Mars, she made her way towards Eterna City. On her way, she passed through the Eterna Forest, where she caught 2 Benaries, 2 Cascoons, and 2 Misdreavus. Afterwards, Dawn went east of Eterna City towards Route 211 in Mount Coronet. On Route 211, she caught a Meditite, Hoot, and Chingling, and once inside Mount Coronet, she caught a Cleffa, as well as evolving one of her Cascoon into a Dustox while she was looking for it. Next, Dawn is about to challenge Gardenia. While she's busy with that, Lucas has just caught 2 Silcoons in Eterna Forest. While waiting for it to get dark, Lucas challenges Gardenia's gym. After defeating the trainers there, Silcoon evolves into Buildfly. Once it was dark, Lucas returned to Eterna Forest and caught 2 Murkrows. He also took some time out to explore the old chateau, where he caught a Ghastly. Afterwards, Lucas decides to work on the Honey Tree Pokemon, while making his way back to Floroma Town to buy some honey, so let's check in with King Z. King Z just received a mystery egg from Cynthia before arriving on Route 206, after passing through the Cycling Road. Here he caught 2 Glygars. He also explored Wayward's Cave basement floor, where he caught a Gibble. Once he was done, he made his way east through Mount Coronet towards Hearthome City, where he caught 2 Nosepasses, one of which evolved into a Probopass while he was searching for 2 Clefairies. Before exiting Mount Coronet, Cynthia's mystery egg hatched into a Togepi. East of Mount Coronet is Route 208, where King Z caught 2 Roselias, a Bibarel, and a Ralts. Upon reaching Hearthome City, he visited BB and received an Eevee. Next, King Z is about to challenge Fantina's gym. While he's doing that, let's check back in with Lucas, who managed to find 2 Munchlaxes and 2 Apoms on the Floroma Meadow Honey Tree, 2 Combies, 2 Cherubies, and a Heracross on the Route 205 Honey Trees. Finally, he caught 3 Burmies on the Honey Tree in the Valley Windworks. Having caught every Honey Tree Pokemon, Lucas returned to Eterna City and received the Explorer Kit from the Underground Man. While Lucas is about to explore, meet up with friends, and search for treasure in Sinnoh's Underground, let's check in with Dawn, who managed to resurrect 2 Sheldons in the Orberg City Museum. While visiting Hearthome City, she received a mystery egg from a hiker. As she made her way to Salacian Town, she passed through Route 208, where she caught a Bonsley, and after exploring the Lost Tower and defeating the wild Pokemon and trainers there, Dawn's Luxio evolved into Luxray. Continuing on her journey, Dawn traveled through the rainy route of 215. After defeating the trainers there, her Baneri evolved into a Lopunny. Upon arriving in Veilstone City, she defeated Maylene and then headed south through Route 214. Here she caught a Sudowoodo. In Pastoria City, Dawn visited the Great Marsh and caught an Azurill, Golduck, and a Carnivine. After defeating Crasher Wake, her Showdown evolved into Bastiodon. Dawn then explored the mansion on Route 212, which houses the Trophy Garden in the back where she caught a Pichu. Now, let's check in with Lucas, who is currently exploring Route 206. Here he caught a Stunky, Bronzor, and Kricketune. Once he finished there, he returned to the Orborg City Museum and resurrected 2 skull fossils, obtaining 2 Craniodoses. Before entering Hearthome City, Lucas obtained the Odd Keystone, which will be useful soon. As soon as he entered Route 209, he caught 2 Chanseys and a Mime Jr. This route is also where Lucas obtained the Good Rod, which allowed him to catch a Goldeen. Additionally, Route 209 is home to the Hollow Tower. Here, Lucas inserted the Odd Keystone he received earlier, causing a wild Spiritomb to appear, which he caught. Once it was dark, Lucas visited the Lost Tower and caught 2 Golbats. After arriving in Solaceon Town, he headed east to the Solaceon Ruins. Here he caught an Unknown. Finishing up in Solaceon Town, Lucas passed through Route 215, where he caught 2 Kadabras. During his battle with the trainers on Route 215, his Monferno also evolved into an Infernape. Now that Lucas has arrived in Veilstone City, he is about to challenge Maylene, the gym leader. While he's doing that, let's check in with King Z and see what he's been up to. After defeating Fantina, King Z traded with Lucas to evolve one of his Kadabras into an Alakazam. As King Z passed through Route 209, he caught a Duskull and a Staravia. Inside the Solaceon Ruins, King Z found a Waterstone, which he used to evolve his Eevee into a Vaporeon. While traveling through Route 210, he caught a Noctowl and 2 Scythers. After defeating the trainers on the route, Grotto evolved into Torterra. Continuing through Route 215, King Z caught 2 Lickitungs and 2 Marils. After battling the trainers there, his Staravia evolved into a Staraptor, and his Marill evolved into an Azumarill. Upon arriving in Veilstone City, King Z received the Porygon from a man who rescued it from Team Galactic. King Z then headed south on Route 214, where he caught 2 Gravelers, 2 Houndours, and a Rhyhorn. In a small cave just west of Route 214, known as the Ruin Maniac Cave, King Z caught a Hippopotas. As soon as he continued to explore Route 214, he picked up some useful items, like a Magmarizer, which will be useful later on, as well as a hidden Razor Fang that he used to evolve his Gligar into Gliscor. After defeating a couple of trainers on this route, his Houndour evolved into Houndoom. As King Z made his way towards Pastoria City, he passed through Valor Lakefront and caught a Girafarig. On Route 213, he caught a Remoraid, and right outside of Pastoria City's gate, he caught a Wingull and a Chatot. Upon arriving in Pastoria City, he visited the Great Marsh and caught a Wooper, 2 Yanmas, 2 Tangalas, a Barboach, a Tropius, 2 Crogunks, a Quagsire, and 2 Skorupies. Once King Z finished up in the Great Marsh, he challenged the Pastoria gym leader Crasher Wake. After defeating him, his Kirlia evolved into Gardevoir. Now, let's check in with Dawn, who is currently on her way to Celestic Town, making her way through the foggy northern section of Route 210. While she was there, she managed to evolve her Prinplup into an Empoleon after defeating the trainers, as well as hatching the Mystery Egg into a Happiny from the hiker in Hearthome City. Shortly after arriving in Celestic Town, Dawn headed west onto Route 211. Here she caught 2 Machokes. She then evolved one of them into a Machamp by trading with King Z, and in return helping one of King Z's Gravelers evolve into a Golem. Dawn then returned to Hearthome City and challenged Fantina's gym. After defeating her, Dawn's Ponyta evolved into a Rapidash. With this gym badge, Dawn could use Surf outside of battle, so she decided to revisit a few previous areas. She returned to Sanjin Town and headed south to Route 219, where she fished up and caught a Finneon. Back on Route 205, she caught a Tentacool, Pelipper, and a Tentacruel. A bit further north at the Fuego Ironworks, Dawn caught a Luxio, Gastrodon, and a Floatzel. As Dawn made her way towards Canalave City, she passed through Route 218 and caught a Glameow. After arriving in Canalave City and defeating Barry in a battle, she evolved her Magikarp into a Gyarados. Her next stop was Iron Island, so after a short boat ride north, Dawn made her way through Iron Island. There, she teamed up with Riley to defeat the trainers in Team Galactic. During this adventure, her Drifloon evolved into a Drifblim, as well as catching a Steelix, and she received a Mystery Egg from Riley. While Dawn is about to challenge Byron, let's check in with Lucas, who is currently making his way towards Pastoria City, passing through Route 214. After defeating the trainers there, his Craniados evolved into a Rampardos. Once Lucas arrived in Pastoria City, he went straight to Crash Awake's gym, and after defeating him, his Cherubi evolved into a Cherub. Lucas then made his way towards Celestic Town. He passed through the rainy Route 212, and after defeating a fisherman, Burmy evolved into a Wormadam. Once arriving in Celestic Town and battling the Team Galactic Grunt, Lucas' second Burmy evolved into a Mothra. He then made his way through Fantina's gym, and after defeating a few trainers, his Aipom evolved into an Ambipom. Next, he challenges Fantina's gym, and upon defeating her, his Combi evolved into a Vespiquen. With the ability to use Surf, Lucas returned back to Route 219 and surfed east towards Route 221 in the Pell Park, where he caught a Skuntank. As Lucas made his way to Canalave City, he passed through Route 218 and caught a Mr. Mime. Upon arriving in Canalave City, he battled Barry, and after defeating him, his Golbat evolved into a Crobat. Lucas then ventured through Iron Island with Riley. At the exit, he picked up a Shiny Stone and used it to evolve his Roselia into a Roserade. Afterwards, Lucas challenged Canalave City's gym leader Byron, and upon winning, his Chansey evolved into a Blissey. Next, Lucas had to make his way to Snowpoint City. To get there, he needed to head north through Mount Coronet, specifically the basement floor, which is known for its elusive Feebas. While Lucas searched for Feebas, let's check in with King Z, who was making his way through Route 212, where he caught 3 Curlias, evolving one into Gallade with a Dawnstone. King Z then visited the Trophy Garden and caught 2 Pikachus, evolving one into Raichu with a Thunderstone. King Z then continued to Celestic Town, and while passing through Route 210, he caught 2 Swablu's and a Wishcash. After defeating the trainers, his Tangela evolved into a Tangrowth. After defeating Cyrus and receiving the HM for Surf, he revisited previous areas to collect items like a hidden Moonstone in Eterna City, an Electrizer in the Valley Windworks, and a hidden Leafstone in Floroma Meadows. He also caught some Pokemon like 2 Magmars and a Magnemite in the Fuego Ironworks. Finally, King Z made his way to Route 219, where he caught a Lumineon. Before heading to Canalave City, he traded with Dawn to evolve one of his Magmars into a Magmortar. Upon arriving at Canalave City, he defeated Barry, which caused his Yanma to evolve into a Yanmega. King Z then traveled to Iron Island, where after defeating the trainers, his Swablu evolved into an Altaria. Before leaving Iron Island, he grabbed a Metal Coat, which he used to evolve Scyther into Scizor upon returning to Canalave City. After defeating Byron, King Z went to Valor Lakefront, battled Team Collector's Commander Saturn, and evolved his Krogunk into Toxicroak. Now, let's check in with Lucas, who finally found and caught 2 Feebas. Continuing his journey to Snowpoint City, he passed through Route 216, where he caught 2 Sneasels and a Snover, as well as Lake Acuity, where he caught a Medicham. Upon arriving in Snowpoint City, he challenged Candace, and after defeating her, his Munchlax evolved into a Snorlax. With Candace defeated, Lucas's next stop was Veilstone City. However, before heading there, he made a stop in Hardhome City to make dry Poffins to raise Feebas' beauty level. While Lucas was busy making Poffins, Dawn infiltrated Team Galactic's headquarters, where she found a Duststone and used it to evolve one of her Misdreviuses into a Mismagius. After defeating Cyrus, the mystery egg Riley gave her hatched into a Riolu. Meanwhile, Lucas fed his Feebas enough Poffins to max out its beauty level, causing it to evolve into Milotic. Lucas then returned to Veilstone City and invaded Team Galactic's headquarters, finding another Duststone to evolve his Murkrow into a Honchkrow. Once Lucas freed the Lake Trio, he made his way to Spirit Pillar, along the way battling Team Galactic's Grunts, which caused his Riolu to evolve into a Lucario. Upon arriving at Spirit Pillar and defeating Cyrus, he captured Dialga, saving the center region. Lucas then made his way to Sunnyshore's gym, where he evolved his Gabite into a Garchomp after defeating the trainers there. Now, let's check in with King Z, who is currently fishing at Lake Verity, where he caught a Seaking. Before heading off to Snowpoint City, he passed through routes 216 and 217, catching 3 Snoruns, one of which he evolved into a Frostlass with a Dawnstone, and 3 Swinolds. As King Z battled the trainers in Candace's gym, his Swinub evolved into Piloswine. After defeating Candace, his Togepi evolved into Togetic, which King Z then evolved into a Togekiss using a Shiny Stone, as well as evolving Clefairy into Clefable with the Moonstone. Before invading Team Galactic's Veilstone headquarters, he revisited Route 213, picking up a Heart Scale. This allowed King Z to reteach Piloswine Ancient Power, and after leveling up Piloswine once, it evolved into a Mamoswine. After defeating Cyrus in Team Galactic's headquarters, his Skorupi evolved into a Drapion. He also grabbed a Razor Claw, which he used to evolve his Sneasel into a Weavile after defeating Team Galactic's Commander Saturn. Before heading off to Spirit Pillar, King Z traded with Dawn to evolve his Porygon 2 into a Porygon Z. On his journey to Spirit Pillar, King Z caught a Bronzong, an Abomasnow, an Absol, and a Chimecho. He also defeated numerous Team Galactic grunts, allowing his Lickitung to evolve into a Licky. Upon arriving at Spirit Pillar, things didn't go as Cyrus had planned, leading King Z, Cyrus, and Cynthia to journey through the Distortion World. There, King Z defeated Cyrus and caught Giratina. After King Z and Cynthia returned to their dimension, they ended up at the Send-Off Spring. Here, King Z caught two Dusclops, one of which he evolved into a Dusknoir after trading with Lucas. Next, King Z began to hunt down the Lake Trio. While he was doing that, let's check in with Dawn, who saved the center region from destruction by capturing Pelkia. Dawn then made her way towards Sunyshore City, passing through Route 222, where she caught a Purugly. After defeating Sunnyshore's gym leader, Vulcaner, she surfed north towards Victory Road in the Pokemon League, passing through Route 223. There, she caught a Remoraid and two Mantikes, one of which she evolved into Mantine after leveling it up once while Remoraid was in her party. While Dawn is preparing to make her way through Victory Road and battle the Pokemon League, let's check in with King Z, who finally managed to track down Mesprit. Next, he set out to catch the remaining legendary Pokemon he needed, such as Uxie in Lake Acuity, Azelf in Valor Lakefront, and Rotom in the Old Chateau. Once King Z finished catching the legendaries, he passed through Route 222, where he caught two Electabuzz and two Magnetons, one of which he evolved into a Magnezone in Mount Coronet. As soon as King Z arrived in Sunyshore City, he traded with Dawn to evolve his Electabuzz into Electivire. After King Z defeated Vulcaner, his Snorunt evolved into Glalie. He then fished on Route 223, where he caught an Octillery, and he made his way through Victory Road, where he caught a Gabite and two Rhydons, one of which he evolved into Rhyperior after trading with Dawn. While Dawn, Lucas, and King Z were challenging the Pokemon League, trouble was brewing in a faraway region known as the Fior region. Here, we meet a Pokemon Ranger named Lunic and his trusty partner Pokemon, Minun. Lunic was tasked with retrieving a Manaphy egg stolen by an evil organization known as the Go-Rock Squad. Throughout Lunic's mission to save the Manaphy egg, he had to deal with various rowdy Pokemon like Rattata, Graveler, Scyther, and Venusaur. After capturing them and putting a stop to Go-Rock Squad's plans, Lunic successfully retrieved the egg and returned it back to Professor Hastings. Professor Hastings suggested sending the egg to someone in the Center region. Luckily, King Z, who lives in the Center region, needed a Manaphy egg to complete his living dex. Once he defeated the Pokemon League, he made his way to the Pokemart where he received the Manaphy egg. After biking back and forth for some time, it hatched into the mythical Pokemon Manaphy. This was the final Pokemon King Z needed for his regional dex. After speaking with Professor Rowan, King Z had his Pokedex upgraded to the National Dex, unlocking a ton of new Pokemon to find. These include Daily Swarm only Pokemon, Dual Slot Encounter Pokemon, Pokemon only found using the Pokeradar, and Pokemon from previous regions. While King Z and Lucas are getting ready to explore every nook and cranny of the Center region in search of these Pokemon, Dawn arrived at the fight area, where she received a Super Rod from a fisherman. She then made her way towards Stark Mountain, passing through routes 225 and 226, where she caught a Spearow, Fearow, Rattata, Raticate, Poliwag, two Poliwhirls, and a Banette. On Route 226, she caught a Horsey, two Seadrus, Relicanth, Spheal, two Celios, Numel, Camerupt, Skarmory, and Weezing. Inside Stark Mountain, Dawn caught Slugma and Macargo. After defeating the trainers there with Buck, one of Dawn's Celios evolved into a Walrein. After Buck returned the Magma Stone, Dawn was able to revisit Stark Mountain, where she caught a Heatran. Continuing her journey through the battle zone, Dawn made her way through Route 228, catching Cacnea, Cacturn, Diglett, Dugtrio, and Hippowdon. Next, Dawn set out for the resort area, passing through Route 229, where she caught an Oddish, 3 Glooms, Bellsprout, 2 Weepinbells, Volbeat, Illumise, Pinsir, Ladian, and Ariados. Having caught all the Pokemon she needed, Dawn made her way underground to find the evolution stone she needed to evolve her Pokemon, as well as the new fossil Pokemon available. Meanwhile, Lucas is in Canalave City helping out a sailor with his son. This led him to traveling to Full Moon Island, where he found Cresselia, which caused it to roam the center region. Lucas set out to find it, and after some time, he eventually caught it on Route 202. Next, Lucas visited Hearthome City where he met BB, who gave him an Eevee. He then brought Eevee to Route 217, where it touched an icy boulder and evolved into a Glaceon. Lucas then returned to Mount Coronet, where he caught a Dratini after fishing inside a waterfall. Afterwards, he explored a previously inaccessible part of Victory Road, where he caught a Lapras. Back on Route 207, Lucas used the Poke Radar to catch 3 Larvatars. Once Lucas arrived at the fight area, he went west onto Route 230, where he caught a Seal and Dugong. Next, Lucas began catching the dual slot encounter Pokemon. He went back to Lake Verity, where he caught a Solrock and a Lunatone, Iron Island, where he caught a Mawile and Sableye, Route 210, where he caught 2 Nuzleaf, Eternal Forest, where he caught a Seedot, Pineco, Metapod, and Kakuna, Route 208, where he caught a Zangoose and a Zephyper, Route 212, where he caught a Lotad, 2 Lombre and Ekans, the Great Marsh, where he caught an Arbok, Lake Acuity, where he caught Teddiursa, Route 217, where he caught Ursaring, Route 204, where he caught a Caterpie and a Weedle, Route 201, where he caught 2 Growlers, the Valley Windworks, where he caught an Elekid, Route 209, where he caught 2 Vulpix, Wayward Cave, where he caught a Sandshrew, Route 228, where he caught a Sandslash, Route 226, where he caught a Magby, Route 224, where he caught a Shuckle, and finally the Old Chateau, where he caught a Haunter and Gengar. In order for Lucas to evolve his Larvatars, he decided to battle the Pokemon League a couple of times. So while he's doing that, let's check in with King Z, who's been tracking down all the Daily Swarm and Trophy Garden Pokemon. After speaking with Dawn's little sister and Mr. Backlot on several occasions, King Z was able to catch 2 Snubbull on Route 209, Doduo on Route 201, Corsola on Route 230, Delibird on Route 217, Farfetch'd on Route 221, Drowsy on Route 215, 3 Beldum on Route 228, 2 Makuhita on Route 225, Spindle on Route 226, 3 Slackoff in Eterna Forest, Voltorb on Route 218, 2 Spoink on Route 214, 2 Electric in the Valley Windwork, Fanpy on Route 207, 2 Zigzagoon on Route 202, 2 Krabby on Route 226, Dunsparce on Route 208, and Skitty on Route 222. Inside the Trophy Garden, King Z caught Igglybuff, Meowth, Plusle, 2 Jigglypuff, Ditto, Minun, 3 Eevees, and a Castform. Once King Z finished catching all the Swarm and Trophy Garden Pokemon, he explored the battle area where he caught a Wailmer and Wailord on Route 230, and a Surskit and Masquerain on Route 229. Now let's check in with Dawn, who managed to find every single fossil and evolution stone she needed. She paid a visit to the Orberg Museum, where she revived the old Amber into Aerodactyl, 2 Helix fossils into 2 Ammonites, 2 Dome fossils into 2 Kabutos, 2 Root fossils into 2 Laleeps, and 2 Claw fossils into 2 Anorus. Next, Dawn took care of the stone evolutions, evolving Poliwhirl into Poliwrath, Gloom into Blossom, Weepinbell into Victory Bell, and Gloom into Vileplume. Afterwards, Dawn met up with King Z to evolve his Seedra into Kingdra. Once Dawn had taken care of the fossil Pokemon and stone evolutions, she flew over to Hearthome City, where she received an Eevee from BB. Dawn then brought Eevee to Eterna Forest, where it evolved into a Leafeon after touching the mossy boulder. Afterwards, Dawn made her way back to Route 210, where she used the Poke Radar to find and catch 3 Bagon. Dawn has some grinding to do in order to evolve all of her new Pokemon, so while she's about to battle the Pokemon League a couple of times, let's check in with Lucas. Lucas evolved his Larvitar into Pupitar and then into Tyranitar. He also gathered all the evolution stones and needed to evolve his Vulpix into Ninetales, Growlithe into Arcanine, Lombre into Ludicolo, and Nuzleaf into Shiftry. Meanwhile, King Z was battling all the trainers throughout the battle area in Pokemon League, allowing him to evolve his Zigzagoon into Linoon, Snubbull into Granbull, Electrike into Manectric, Spoink into Grumpig, Krabby into Kingler, Makuhita into Hariyama, Slackoff into Vigoroth, then into Slacking, Beldum into Metang, and then into Metagross. King Z also took care of the stone evolutions, evolving Skinny into Delcatty, Jigglypuff into Wigglytuff, Eevee into Jolteon, and his other Eevee into a Flareon. After Dawn defeated the Pokemon League a couple of times, her Bagon evolved into a Shelgon and then into a Salamence, her Ammonite evolved into an Amistar, Kabuto into Kabutops, Leap into Credilli, and Anorith into Armaldo. Now that everyone had evolved their Pokemon, Dawn and Lucas met up with King Z and traded over all their Pokemon they caught throughout their journey. Once they finished, King Z decided to breed for the Sinnoh starter Pokemon and a mythical Pokemon. Through this, he was able to hatch 2 Chimchars, 2 Piplups, and 2 Turtwigs. Finally, King Z hatched the mythical Pokemon Phione. To evolve these newly hatched starter Pokemon, King Z returned to Victory Road. After battling the wild Pokemon there, Chimchar evolved into Monferno, Piplup evolved into Prinplup, and Turtwig evolved into Grotto. These are almost all the Pokemon King Z is missing, outside of some legendary Pokemon locked behind event items. In order to receive these items, I used the DNS Wi-Fi exploit in the mystery gifts option. King Z then paid a visit to the Pokemart where he received the Azure Flute, Members Card, and Oak's letter from the delivery man. He then made his way to Candelave City where he visited the Harbor Inn. Once inside, he was greeted by a strange man who brought King Z to a bed where he fell asleep. Once King Z woke up, he happened to be on New Moon Island. Here, he encountered and caught a Darkrai. Next, King Z went after another legendary Pokemon, which brought him to Route 224. Here, King Z met up with Marley and Professor Oak, who are examining a stone tablet. After King Z engraved who he wanted to express his feelings of gratitude to, a mysterious Pokemon appeared and opened up Seabreak Path. Following this path led to Flower Paradise, where he encountered and caught Shaman. The final legendary Pokemon King Z hunted down brought him back to Spirit Pillar, where his Azure Flute started to make a weird sound. King Z decided to blow into it, causing a glowing staircase to appear. After climbing to the top, he arrived at the Hall of Origin, where he encountered and caught Arceus. King Z is still missing one more legendary Pokemon, but he will have to skip it for now until he obtains 3 other legendary Pokemon from the Hoenn region. Our next 2 trainers from a region not too far from Sinnoh. In a small town known as Newbark, we meet Ethan, who just picked a starter Pokemon Cyndaquil, and Lyra, who has just chosen her starter Pokemon Chikorita. Eventually, Lyra will need a second starter Pokemon, so let's follow Ethan first. Ethan is making his way through Route 29, where he caught 2 Pidgeys and a Sentret. Once he reached Cherry Grove City, he met up with Lyra in the Union Room. Here, they traded one of Ethan's Pidgeys for Lyra's Chikorita. Ethan then heads towards Violet City, passing through Route 30. Here, he caught a Spinarak. Upon arriving in Violet City, he challenged and defeats Falconer. After his victory, Ethan received a call from Professor Elm to meet up with one of his assistants to pick up a mystery egg. Ethan then made his way south towards the Union Cave, catching 2 Mareeps and 2 Hoppips along the way. While Ethan was in the Union Cave, let's check in with Lyra, who received a Totodile from Professor Elm and caught a Ladybug on Route 30. While she was exploring the Slowpoke well, she caught a Slowpoke, and after defeating Team Rocket's executive Proton and the gym leader Bugsy, she was able to explore the Alex Forest. Here, Professor Elm's mystery egg hatched into a Togepi. Lyra also caught a Paris and a Pineco. As she passed through Route 34, she caught 2 Executes. Now, Lyra's about to challenge Whitney, so let's check back in with Ethan. Ethan is currently making his way through Route 35, where he caught a Nidoran female and a Nidoran male. On Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, the National Park holds a bug catching contest. Here, Ethan caught a Butterfree, Venonat, and Beedrill, and after winning the contest, he received the Sunstone. Outside of the bug catching contest, Ethan caught 2 Sunkerns in the National Park. He evolved one into Sunflora with the Sunstone he won. As Ethan passed through Route 37, he caught a Stantler, and once he arrived in Ecruteak City and visited the Pokemon Center, he spoke with Bill, who told him to visit him in Goldenrod City. Once Ethan visited Bill in Goldenrod City, he received an Eevee. After challenging and defeating Morty's gym, Ethan's Togepi evolved into a Togetic. This victory also allowed Ethan to use Surf outside of battle, so he decided to backtrack to previous areas, catching a Smeargle and 2 Natus in the ruins of Elf, a Slowbro in the basement floor of the Slowpoke Well, where he also grabbed the King's Rock. Ethan then meets up with Lyra to evolve his Slowpoke into Slowking. Ethan then made his way through Route 38, where he caught a Tauros and a Miltank before arriving in Olivine City. Now let's check in with Lyra, who just defeated Morty, causing her Croconaw to evolve into a Feraligatr. As Lyra made her way through Olivine City, she grabbed the good route, allowing her to catch 2 Staryus on Route 40, a Chinchou, and 2 Shelters on Route 41, as she headed to Cianwood. After arriving in Cianwood City and challenging the trainers in Chuck's gym, Lyra's Pidgeotto evolved into a Pidgeot. After delivering the secret potion to Jasmine and healing Ampharos, Boba calls Lyra to inform her that the Safari Zone is open. Lyra then heads there, and while battling the trainers along the way, her Meowth evolved into a Persian. In the Safari Zone, Lyra caught a Wobbuffet, 2 Nidorinos, 2 Nidorinas, Hypno, and a Kangaskong. After catching all the Pokemon in the Safari Zone Lyra needed, she met up with Ethan to trade and evolve her Poliwhirl into a Politoed. Lyra then returned to Olivine City and challenged Jasmine. Once she defeated her, Lyra's Pineco evolved into a Fortress. Now let's check in with Ethan, who is currently exploring and challenging the trainers in the Lighthouse in Olivine City, where his Flaffy evolved into an Ampharos. Upon arriving in Cianwood City, Ethan challenged Chuck's gym, and after defeating the trainers there, his Bayleaf evolved into a Meganium. Before heading back to Olivine City, Ethan is challenged by Usain. After defeating him, his Natu evolved into a Xatu. Next, Ethan heads east of Ecruteak City towards the Lake of Rage, passing through Route 42 where he caught a Mankey. And on Route 43, he captures a Flaffy and a Pidgeotto. After meeting up with Lance, Ethan made his way through Team Rocket's hideout, defeating the Grunts. During these battles, his Quilava evolved into a Typhlosion. Ethan then teamed up with Lance to defeat Team Rocket's admin Ariana. This allowed Ethan to capture an Electrode. Ethan then challenged and defeated Mahogany's gym leader Price, which caused his Eevee to evolve into an Umbreon. Ethan then received a call from Professor Elm, who told him to check on Goldenrod City due to hearing a strange broadcast about Team Rocket. So Ethan returns to Goldenrod City, battles through the radio tower, and defeats Team Rocket's admin Archer. As thanks for saving the radio tower, Ethan received the Rainbow Wing from the director. With Team Rocket taken care of, Ethan proceeds through the ice path where he caught a Jinx. Upon arriving in Blackthorn City, Ethan defeated Claire, which allowed him to use Waterfall outside of battle. So he decides to return to Mount Mortar and defeats the Karate Master, where he received a free Tyrogue. Afterwards, Ethan returned to Ecruteak City. Here, he defeated the Kimono Girls, proving he is worthy to challenge Ho-Oh. He then makes his way to the top of the Burn Tower, where the Kimono Girl summons Ho-Oh, allowing Ethan to catch it. Now, let's check in with Lyra, who made her way through Route 43, defeating the trainers there, which caused her Eevee to evolve into an Espeon. After defeating Team Rocket's admin Archer, her Dratini evolved into a Dragonair. Once she left the radio tower, Warden Boba called her and told her he has a second task she must complete at the Safari Zone. So, Lyra returned back to the Safari Zone and spoke with Warden Boba, who unlocked the Area Customizer. This allows her to change the areas inside the Safari Zone, allowing Lyra to capture different Pokemon that live there. This allowed her to capture a Cubone and a Marowak in the desert area, 2 Skipplumes in the meadow area, and a Grimer in the marshland. After finishing up at the Safari Zone, Lyra heads to Blackthorn City and defeats Claire, which caused one of her Skiplooms to evolve into a Jumpluff. With the final gym taken care of, Lyra returned back to Ecruteak City, where she defeated the Kimono Girls, proving she is worthy enough to challenge Lugia. So she returned back to the World Islands, where she explored its lower levels. Here, the Kimono Girls summoned Lugia, allowing Lyra to catch it. Lyra then made her way towards the Pokemon League, but before she goes there, she made a quick detour at the ruins of Elf. Here, she grabs a Moonstone after using Flash on her door with Unknown on it. With one Moonstone in hand, she heads through Tojo Falls, where she grabs another Moonstone. As she made her way through Route 27, she caught a Dodrio, and after defeating the trainers on Route 28, Lyra's Tyrogue evolved into a Hitmonchan. Once Lyra arrived at the Indigo Plateau, she used both of her Moonstones to evolve Nidorino into Nidoking and Nidorina into Nidoqueen. Now, Lyra's about to challenge the Pokemon League, so while she's busy doing that, let's check in with Ethan, who managed to make his way through Victory Road, where he caught a Donphan and battled Silver, which caused his Tyrogue to evolve into a Hitmonlee. After defeating Lance and entering the Hall of Fame, Ethan returned to Olivine City, where he met up with Professor Oak, who upgraded his Pokedex to the National Dex. This allows Ethan to encounter new Pokemon not found in the Johto region. Oak also tells Ethan to visit him in Peloton, but before setting sail to Vermilion City, Ethan backtracks to catch some Pokemon he missed. His first stop is Route 29, where he hunts down the elusive Entei. Afterwards, Ethan returns to the National Park, and he participates in the bug catching contest, where he caught 2 Ninkatas. Having caught all the Pokemon he needed from the Johto region, Ethan returns to Olivine City and sets sail for Vermilion City. While on the ship, he battles trainers, which caused his Nincada to evolve into a Ninjask. And since Ethan had an empty slot in his party as well as an empty Pokeball, he received a Shedinja. Once Ethan arrived in Vermilion City, he begins defeating the gym leaders, starting with Lieutenant Surge in Vermilion City. Ethan then defeats Sabrina, which caused his Dragonair to evolve into a Dragonite. Now let's check in with Lyra, who is currently tracking down the second legendary roaming beast, Raikou. After about 5 minutes of searching, she finds and catches it. Shortly after, Lyra made her way to the Kanto region. In Celadon City, she visited the game corner where she played Voltorb Flip until she had enough coins to buy 2 Porygons. Once she bought it, she traded with Ethan to evolve one of them into a Porygon 2. With Porygon evolved, Lyra surfs in a small pond in Celadon City where she caught a Muk. She then continues her journey throughout Kanto, defeating gym leaders like Erica in Celadon City and Janine in Fuchsia City. As Lyra made her way through Route 12, she grabbed the Super Rod, which allowed her to capture a Quillfish. On Route 25, she caught a Venomoth. After defeating Misty, she returned back to Route 25, where she caught the final Johto beast, Suicune. Lyra then continues her gym leader challenge, defeating Brock in Pewter City. Lyra then continues to make her way towards Cinnabar Island, passing through Viridian Forest. Here, she caught 2 Shroomish. On Route 1, she caught a Furret, and in Pallet Town, she caught a Lantern. After arriving in the Seafoam Islands, Lyra challenged and defeated Blaine, causing her Shroomish to evolve into a Breloom. Next, Lyra has to obtain her final gym badge and defeat Red. While she's doing that, let's check in with Ethan, who began breeding for the 3 Johto starter Pokemon, as well as a couple of Tyrogues. First, he traded with Lyra to borrow her Feraligatr, then made his way to the daycare on Route 34. Here, Ethan hatched 2 Chikoritas, 2 Cyndaquils, 2 Totodiles, and 2 Tyrogues. Ethan then returned to Kanto and started challenging the gym leaders. Defeating Erica in Celadon City caused his Chikorita to evolve into a Bayleaf. While passing through the cycling road, Ethan defeated a Biker, which caused his Tyrogue to evolve into a Hitmontop. After defeating Janine in Fuchsia City, Ethan's Cyndaquil evolved into a Quilava. As he continued his journey across the Kanto region, Ethan defeated the remaining gym leaders from Misty in Cerulean City to Blue in Viridian City, which caused his Totodile to evolve into a Crocodile. With all the gym leaders defeated, Ethan climbed to the peak of Mount Silver and defeated Red. After this victory, Ethan returned to Pallet Town, where Professor Oak allowed him to choose a Kanto starter. Ethan picked Charmander. Next, he headed to Saffron City, where he spoke with Steven in the Silphco building. Steven gave Ethan a choice between a green, red, and blue stone. After choosing the green stone, Steven gave Ethan a Trico. Next, Ethan began to hunt down and catch some Pokemon he was missing, as well as the legendary Pokemon scattered across the Johto and Kanto regions. His first stop was Cerulean Cave, where he caught a Primeape, Parasect, and deep within the cave, he found and caught Mewtwo. Afterwards, Ethan hunted down the Cantonian bird trio. Back in the Seafoam Islands, he caught an Articuno. The next legendary bird, Zapdos, was found at the power plant. The final legendary Cantonian bird, Moltres, was located deep within Mount Silver. To find the next legendary, Ethan visited Mr. Pokemon, who gave him the blue orb. With this special orb, Ethan went to the embedded tower and caught a Kyogre. The final legendary Ethan needed was Latias, but since it's a roaming legendary, he had to track it down. While Ethan was hunting down Latias, let's check in with Lyra, who chose Squirtle from Professor Oak. She then visited Steven in the Silphco building, where she chose the Redstone instead, which led her to receiving a Torchic. Next, Lyra visited Mr. Pokemon, who gave her the red orb, allowing her to catch Groudon in the embedded tower. To complete the Ho and Weather trio, Lyra borrowed Ethan's Kyogre. With both Kyogre and Groudon in her party, Lyra revisited Professor Oak, who gave her the Jade Orb, which allowed her to catch Rayquaza in the embedded tower. Before tracking down her final legendary, Lyra caught the only sworn Pokemon she needed. On Route 19, 3 Clampearls. She then met up with Ethan to trade and evolve 2 of her Clampearls, one into Huntail and the other into Gorbis. Just like Ethan, Lyra had to track down her final legendary Pokemon, Latios. While Lyra was tracking down Latios, Ethan finally found and caught Latias. Now that Ethan has caught all the legendary Pokemon he needed, he decided to breed for and evolve his Trico and Charmander. After revisiting the daycare on Route 34, Ethan hatched 2 Charmanders and 2 Tricos. To evolve him, he battled the wild Pokemon at Mount Silver. This allowed him to evolve one of his Charmanders into Charmeleon and then into a Charizard, and one of his Tricos into Grovyle and then into a Sceptile. Now let's check in with Lyra, who finally tracked down and caught Latios. Next, Lyra focused on breeding her Squirtle and Torchic, as well as evolving her Stone Evolution Pokemon. After visiting the daycare on Route 34, she hatched 2 Torchics and 2 Squirtles. Training against the wild Pokemon at Mount Silver, Lyra evolved one of her Squirtles into a Wartortle and then into a Blastoise, and one of her Torchics into Combuskin and then into a Blaziken. She also used 2 Water Stones to evolve Staryu into Starmie and Shellder into Cloyster. And finally, she used her Leaf Stone to evolve one of her Executes into an Executor. Before we meet our next set of trainers, Ethan and Lyra met up with King Z to trade over all the Pokemon they caught throughout their journeys. During this time, King Z was busy helping out on a ranch while Lyra and Ethan were exploring the Johto region. While working on the ranch, King Z met the owner Haley, whose goal is to populate her ranch with as many Pokemon as possible. With the help of Dawn and Lucas, King Z fulfilled her goal. Once Haley's ranch was full, she asked King Z to trade her any Pokemon egg for her meal, which King Z happily did. Haley's meal is level 50 and is one of the hardest Pokemon to obtain from the first generation. Now, it's time for us to meet our next set of trainers. Brendan, who will catch the remaining Hoenn Pokemon we need, May, who will play an important role later for a mythical Pokemon, and Red, who has 2 Pokemon we will need, but more on them later. For now, let's just focus on Brendan and his journey. Brendan chose Mudkip as his starter. After defeating May and receiving the Pokedex, Brendan headed towards Rustboro City. Along the way, he traveled through Route 102 where he caught 2 Poochyenas, and Route 104 where he caught a Tailo. Once Brendan arrived in Rustboro City, he defeated the gym leader, Roxanne. He then made his way east to Route 116 where he caught 2 Whismurs. After defeating Team Aqua and leaving to Dewford Town, Brendan defeated the gym leader Brawley and explored the Granite Cave. Here he caught 2 Arons. After delivering the letter to Steven, Brendan made his way to Sleeport City where he defeated Team Aqua again and delivered the letter to Captain Stern. Brendan then headed north to Route 110 where he caught 2 Gulpins. After defeating May again, he entered Mawile City and defeated the gym leader Watson. This allowed Brendan to use Rock Smash outside of battle, so he made his way north towards Mount Chimney, passing through the Fiery Path where he caught a Torkoal and a Koffing. After riding to the top of Mount Chimney and defeating Archie, Brendan made his way to Lava Ridge Town. There he received a mystery egg and defeated the gym leader Flannery. With his new gym badge in hand, Brendan exited the gym and was stopped by May, who gave him the Go Goggles. This allowed Brendan to visit the desert portion of Route 111, where he caught a Baltoy and 3 Trapinch. Next, Brendan made his way back to Petalburg City where he defeated Norman, causing his Gulpin to evolve into a Swellow. With this victory, Brendan could use Surf outside of battle, opening up previously inaccessible areas. On a small island on Route 115, he caught a Swellow and battled several trainers, allowing his Marshtomp to evolve into a Swampert. After surfing to the other side of Route 118 and speaking to a fisherman, Brendan received the Good Rod. He used it to catch a Carvana on Route 118 and 2 Corphish in Petalburg City. As Brendan made his way towards Fortree City, the mystery egg hatched into a Wynot. After helping out the Weather Institute by defeating Team Aqua's Admin Shelly, one of Brendan's Poochyenas evolved into a Mightyena. Upon arriving in Fortree City, Brendan headed west towards Route 120. Here he caught a Kecleon and received the Devon Scope. This allowed Brendan to see the camouflage Kecleon blocking the gym entrance. Once he made it inside, he defeated Fortree's gym leader Winona. Brendan then made his way towards Mount Pyre, battling trainers along the way which caused his Loudred to evolve into an Exploud. On Route 121, he caught a Shuppet. After infiltrating and clearing out Team Aqua's base, Brendan's Lairon evolved into an Aggron. In Moss Deep City, he spoke with the fisherman who gave Brendan a Super Rod, allowing him to catch a Sharpedo. Brendan then challenged and defeated the gym leaders Tate and Liza before heading over to Evergrande City, where he caught a Luvdis. Next, Brendan set out in search of Archie, leading him to the Seafloor Cavern. There, he defeated Archie, which caused his Vibrava to evolve into a Flygon. After calming down Kyogre in the Cave of Origin, Brendan defeated the final gym leader Wallace, causing one of his Corphish to evolve into a Cruddon. Now that Brendan had all the gym badges, he began to hunt down the 3 legendary Golem Pokemon. He visited the Sealed Chamber on Route 134, unlocking the 3 Golem doors by solving their Braille puzzle. This allowed Brendan to catch Reggie Ice in the Island Cave, Reggie Rock in the Desert Resort, and Reggie Steel in the Ancient Tomb. With the 3 Golems caught, Brendan made his way through Victory Road. Here he caught a Loudred and a Lairon. Before exiting Victory Road, Wally had challenged Brendan, and after defeating him, Brendan's second Trapinch evolved into a Vibrava. Now, Brendan is about to challenge the Pokemon League. While he's doing that, let's check in with Red, who received the Aurora ticket, allowing him to travel to Birth Island where he caught a Deoxys after solving a puzzle. The second Pokemon Red has is a Venusaur, which he agreed to let King Z keep. Now, let's check in with May, who received an event Celebi from the Japanese Pokemon Coliseum bonus disc. This is the only Pokemon we need from her, so let's return back to Brandon, who just defeated the Pokemon League and is making his way towards Sky Pillar. Once he was there, he caught a Claydol. The final Pokemon Brendan needs is a Jirachi, which comes from the English Pokemon Coliseum bonus disc. This is the final Pokemon Brendan needed for this challenge. Next, King Z needs to migrate all the Pokemon Brendan caught while exploring the Hold region. He chose which Pokemon to migrate and return to Route 221 to visit the Pell Park. Here, he caught all of Brendan's Pokemon. After migrating all the Pokemon, King Z returned to the daycare to breed Venusaur and Swampert, hatching 2 Bulbasaurs and 2 Mudkips. To evolve them, King Z returned to Victory Road, and after a few battles, he evolved Bulbasaur into Ivysaur and Mudkip into Marshtomp. The final 2 Pokemon King Z needs are located in the Snowpoint City Temple. Here he caught a Smoochum and the final legendary Pokemon Regigigas, now that he has all 3 Regis from the Hoenn region. With these 2 catches done, King Z has successfully obtained all 493 Pokemon and completed a Living Dex in Pokemon Platinum. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and until my next video, have a great day. Goodbye.